here's how to play Spots by CMYK Games. Spots is a push your luck action selection game in which you're going to be using one of the 6 available actions to roll dice and then place those dice on your Dalmatians. Every action in the game is a little bit different. You'll notice there's a stack over here that are unused, so every game there's a lot of variability. You're going to take the action by flipping it over, and that means on the next player's turn they don't have access to this action. At some point, 5 of the 6 actions will be flipped over and only 1 will be left. When that happens, you will take a treat and you will place it on the one action that has not been selected, and then every other action will then flip back over so that the next player can take any of the actions and they will get to keep the treat if they choose this action. In this game, there's a concept where you'll see a lot of the actions have a step 1 and then a step 2. In this case, anytime you see something that says roll dice, you're going to roll dice immediately. In this case, I can take these 2 dice, we'll say I rolled them, and if I rolled a 5 and a 2, I must place these dice on my dogs, assuming I can. In this case, I could place the 5 here, and I cannot place the 2, so the 2 has to be what's called buried. And here's where the push your luck mechanism of this game comes in. If I ever have more than 7 spots in my yard, I bust. So if this would have been a 3, I then have 8, and that means all of the dice on all of my gray dog cards will come off and be discarded, and I have to start over. The goal of Spots is to complete your dogs by filling in their spots, and then by the end of the game, you can complete your dogs by flipping them over once they're full of dice. The player that has 6 completed dogs first wins. But on your turn, as I mentioned, you're only able to take an action, or you have the option to complete dogs. So in this case, if I took this action, if I had this dog like this, I could take an action on my turn to complete dogs, which means I don't take one of these actions out here. I take these dice off of this dog. I flip this dog over to show that they've been completed. Now this dog is no longer susceptible to losing dice if I ever bust because I push my luck. Now, there is a fun thing where if you are pushing your luck, you can get rewarded where if you fill up all of your open dogs, so some cards, as an example, allow you to draw more dog cards, so you can have more than 2 in front of you at any one time. If I had all of these dogs filled up on my turn, I could then, if I rolled the dice and I'd rolled, let's say, a 6, 5, 3, and that perfectly fills it in, and sometimes, too, you can even accidentally have more dice, and maybe I also had another 5 over here, but I didn't bust. If I fill in all of my available dogs on one turn, they automatically flip over. And anytime you flip over a dog, you get to draw a replacement from the deck. So in this case, I would then get to draw 2 cards face up. So you are incentivized to play fast and risky, which is in the rulebook described as continuing to try to fill in your dog cards without having to take a complete turn. But if you'd like to play a little bit more safely, you can pause, not take a turn essentially, and flip over your dogs to get you closer to that endgame victory condition. Every tile in the game is relatively self-explanatory. What's important is every time you roll dice, you then have to place or bury those dice immediately. And a lot of actions then have another action where after you place these dice, you can then choose, and this is kind of where a lot of the push your luck comes in, to do this. So in this case, I could have something like this, where maybe I only have this dog face up. If I roll 2 dice and I don't roll a 2 or a 3, but in this case, let's say I rolled a 2 and a 1, I now have 6 in my yard, and that 2, I could then choose, I may roll 1 die. So I could grab another die and roll it, and in this case, I rolled a 2, so that would make me bust, and all of these dice would come off, including this one. However, if I had rolled a 3 in this case, I would be able to take this die, place it here, flip this over immediately since I was pushing my luck and I was successful. I then get to draw a replacement card, and remember, since I took this action, it will flip over. Treats, as I mentioned before, are placed on these actions as they are not taken to incentivize those actions to be taken further. A treat allows you to re-roll after any individual roll. So in this case, I could re-roll after I rolled my 2 dice. You always have to re-roll all of the dice you just rolled. So if I re-rolled after my 2 dice, I'd have to re-roll both of those dice. After I place or bury those dice, I could then roll 1 die, and I could use a treat to re-roll that 1 die if I would like to. Same thing here. If I rolled 3 dice and I used a treat, I would then have to use a treat to roll all 3 of those dice again. And this down here says you may roll 1 die and repeat it as many times as you'd like, but those are, again, in discrete times of rolling the die. So if I roll the die and use a treat, I can re-roll it once, and I can continue to choose until I've either busted or I've finished all of my dog cards. The game ends when someone has their 6th dog card flipped over. I hope this helps you learn how to play this game. Enjoy.